She didn't hold out for you. She took a step forward first, and at that very moment, something was mentioned that was quiet but impactful without saying a single word. The majority of males believe a hug, is simply an embrace, a courteous gesture, a pleasant behavior, something cozy, fleeting, forgettable. However, when a woman gives you a hug first, particularly in the absence of a strong societal duty, she's not fulfilling courtesy. She's behaving instinctively. Additionally, instinct always discloses more truth, more than words ever could. This is what most men are missing. Women are much pickier, more physically initiated than males acknowledge. Touch is not informal with the female nervous system. It serves as a filter, a test, a signal that she only transmits when the subconscious is interested, secure, and emotionally transparent. When she gives you a hug first, she has already responded to a number of inquiries about yourself. She's evaluated your emotional state and presence, stability, your vigor, your self-control, and she made the decision, even if just for that feeling of being near you. Correct. That choice wasn't made in seconds. Over time, it occurred through observation. The way you talk how you respond without attempting to impress when things don't work out for you, whether you pay attention without hurrying to demonstrate yourself, whether your focus feels grounded rather than hungry. Women don't proceed in the direction of anarchy. They proceed in the direction of lucidity. And her body is that hug leaning toward what seems obvious. There are various types of hugs. Additionally, this is where psychology is important. A brief Sadia hug serves as a courteous barrier and social safety. However, when she totally embraces you, when without hesitation her arms encircle, when rather than stiffening, her body relaxes, she's expressing trust and comfort. The key to attractiveness is trust. Nothing genuine ever develops without it. Everything is altered by it. Take note of her timing. If she gives you a hug before you arrive, that's initiation for her. Beginning denotes a financial investment. She didn't wait to be selected, she picked the time. Women don't do that until they feel emotionally in sync. Additionally, alignment comes from more than just appearances. It arrives from the way you create her nervous system sense when you're close, serene, observed, free from pressure. This is the part when males frequently sabotage. When a woman gives you her first hug, she is observing how you use that moment. Are you clinging? Do you hurry to escalate? Do you use jokes to conceal the intensity? Or do you remain in the moment and grounded? Either of your responses validates her intuition or makes her regret it. Attraction increases when a man may maintain intimacy without reaching for more. Have a thorough understanding of this, of females before her. The body frequently shows interest. The intellect is prepared to explain it. That embrace may arrive before she completely realizes why she feels pulled to you. For this reason, it's not overt. Because of this, it's simple to disregard, but the most subtle indications are sincere ones. She gave you a hug first because something about you felt safe, interesting, and familiar in a positive way, in the sense of controlling emotions, manly without coercion, present without pressure. That is uncommon. Additionally, rarity sparks interest. If you become literate situations such as these without being overly emotional, without having to hasten or identify them, you enter a new category of man, the kind that attracts women in the past. They are able to explain why, what causes. The hug is incredibly intense in this moment itself. It was what had to be true on the inside, her before she ever made a move in your direction. Women do not initiate intimate physical contact unless their defense mechanisms have dropped already. Additionally, those defenses are difficult to avoid. They are constructed from past setbacks, betrayed confidence, unwelcome pressure, as well as men who took too far too quickly. Thus, when she intervenes first, make sure you fully comprehend this. You passed a test that you were unaware you were using. Attraction is assumed by most guys, is overtly sexual, loud, and blatant. However, actual attraction, particularly the type that begins gently and lasts, it begins when the nervous system of women relaxes around you, When she doesn't sense being observed, assessed, or pursued, when she senses liberated to be herself without controlling your expectations, that's the setting in which she feels comfortable enough to start touch. She gave you a hug first since your being there, didn't need anything from her. You didn't pull, you weren't giving a performance, you weren't attempting to validate the extract. And ironically, she leaned since there was no pressure. This is how female psychology functions, because ladies read all the time undercurrent of emotion. They sense purpose prior to hearing words. Additionally, if the intention feels pure, rooted, and self-contained, her body reacts before her reasoning may get in the way. This is something that not many men comprehend. Women avoid approaching men who desire them. They gravitate toward men who feel at ease, whether or not they are selected. That comfort conveys power on a profound level, biological level. I am stable, it declares. I'm not in a dire situation or attempting to create a gap in you, and that the signal is quite appealing when she gave you a hug first, and she was also looking at another thing. How do you manage intimacy? Are you able to remain calm, or do you become tense? Do you transform it into a joke to get away from vulnerability? Are you squeezed too firmly in an attempt to lock the moment in situ? Or are you able to meet her warmth with composed assurance and then let leave without a lasting need? Women recall how a man leaves a time simply as much as the way he goes into it. This is where a lot of men fail without realizing it. They take the embrace as authorization to speed up text more and push closeness more quickly to require clarity prior to her having opportunity to investigate her own emotions. That pressure breaks down. Attraction, not because she altered her mind, but since you altered the emotional state. What was light gets heavy. What was organic turns into compelled. A embrace that she initiates is not a green light to pursue. This is an invitation to continue being who you are, to stay centered, to make room. Attraction expands not in pursuit, but in space. The more you can put up with ambiguity without attempting to influence the result, the more you become magnetic. She is also observing how you handle the situation later. You behave as though you are due something right now, or do you still show up with the identical grounded energy, the identical respect for limits, the same self-control? Women feel most secure around males whose identity is not dependent on being a woman. Acceptance. Additionally, safety is the ground where desire intensifies. Recognize this when a woman gives you a hug, she is not giving you a conclusion. A door is being opened by her. What comes next is totally dependent on whether you navigate it with self-respect and patience, or hurry in attempting to seize something that is not yet ready. This is the reality that most men are unaware of. There was more to that hug than just affection. It had to do with alignment. The body of a woman travels in the direction of what feels emotionally consistent. When she gives you the first hug, unconsciously, she's saying, "You feel like someone I could become closer to." Currently, not completely, but possibly. Real desire starts with possibility. The mind of women does not function on immediate conclusions. It functions on developing impressions. She's always posing queries to herself that she might never talk aloud. How do I feel him? Do I feel more or less like myself? Do I feel open, aware, or at ease or cautious? When her body starts contact, it indicates that their responses were in your favor. But this is where depth issues. A woman may be drawn to and still retreat if the man misinterprets the signal. Since the object of her testing isn't, she already knows if you desire her. She's trying to see if you can hold emotional burden without giving in to need or dominance, which is why the embrace comes before words, before clarity, prior to labels. It's a low-risk investigation of your capacity for emotional intelligence. What most men are unaware, that women are extremely sensitive to changes in energy after the embrace is frequently more significant than the hug itself. Did your Did your posture change? Did your tone change? All of a sudden, you're more eager, more attentive, more accessible in a manner that did you feel transactional, or did you stay steady as if closeness didn't destabilize you? Stability is alluring, not thrill, not enigma. Stability, particularly to a lady who has felt inconsistent in their emotions in the past, when she gives you a hug first and feels as though you have nothing to grab, she becomes more attracted to her silently. She might not even identify it as attraction yet. She'll simply observe that later on she considers you, that she replays her feelings, making her wonder, why is your existence still there in her body longer than anticipated? This is where boys and men are separated by patience. If you attempt to characterize the situation too soon, you compel her to leave her intuitive process as well as into logic, which frequently destroys the nourishment that intuition provided. Women initially fall in love through emotion rather than logic. Your work isn't, it must be constant in order to persuade. Additionally, something else is taking place beneath the surface. When she starts contact, she's taking back control of her life. Selecting instead of responding indicates that she feels sufficiently emotionally secure with you to freely express desire of becoming overcome by it. If you reply by controlling the situation, you transgress that security. If you react by respecting, it makes you uncommon. Men who comprehend, they don't rush or intensify instantaneously. They don't alter their actions to secure anything. They permit the relationship to breathe, her curiosity to develop, as well as curiosity becomes desire when you're not under pressure. Must also realize that a hug is not a promise, but it's not a guarantee. It's information, a contract, details on her feelings in your presence at that very moment. Powerful men, they integrate rather than clinging to moments them and proceed without attachment, which is what distinguishes them emotionally appealing. When she gave a hug, she was focusing on you first. If you could see her humanity without attempting to take anything out of whether you could take pleasure in intimacy, in the absence of ownership, could you be true to who you are without changing or inflating? The majority of men overlook this since they are taught to want results, yet women react to emotional and procedural pace to a man who recognizes that layers, not leaps, are how connections develop. After a little while, if you can remain grounded like manner, if you are able to carry on living with presence and purpose, you put yourself in a group that she seldom encounters. Rarity has great power. This has a deeper level to it that almost nobody discusses it. When a lady gives you a hug first, she's not just reacting to your relationship with her, she's reacting to your identity without. She is attracted to men whose lifestyles feel satisfied, focused, and emotionally independent. Her body is the hug, realizing that you don't require her to feel whole. The psychology of women is shaped by contrast. She makes comparisons all the time. How she feels with many males, including unconsciously, she feels exhausted and tense around other people. However, in the presence of a man who is focused on his, she feels lighter in her own life, less accountable, less cautious. That relief is euphoric, and alleviation is what frequently draws her in before becoming attracted. Totally develops. When she makes contact, she's moving toward that sense of relief, taking a brief break from your emotional stability, which is why the embrace feels natural rather than coerced, which is why it occurs spontaneously. Her body acknowledges something that her intellect hasn't articulated yet. For this reason, attempting to frequently take advantage of the moment backfires. The moment you attempt to turn that embrace into leverage, you disclose that your emotional core is exterior. Therefore, you were anticipating a sign, anticipating permission as well as requesting permission. Attraction is subtly eroded by energy in women. Wish to feel selected rather than accountable for picking you. A man who comprehends hugs are not viewed in female psychology as advancement. He views it as resonance, doesn't record it on an internal scoreboard. He lets it tell him without making any changes. That's the distinction between performance and self-assurance, something incredibly alluring about a man who is able to feel intimacy and still uphold boundaries, who doesn't replay overks the next day, the moment compulsively, who doesn't ask for assurance, concealed, as dialogue, that self control informs her, that your curiosity is deliberate, not obsessive. Here's the contradiction: the less you attempt to win her over, the more she feels safe with you, because control does not produce security. It is produced by being consistent, by being aware of your mood, your direction, and your identity doesn't change according to her responses. Is the reason why women frequently claim to be ignorant. Why are they attracted to a man like this? Since the attraction isn't being produced by strategies, it's being produced by the nerve system compatibility. Your serenity controls hers. She is slowed down by your presence. And in a world in which the majority of men are racing, that slowness seems uncommon and secure. An embrace. It is also a mirror that she initiated. Shows how you've been acting not only in your life but with her. Men who are seeking approval, which they seldom get uninvited contact. Aligned men frequently do so with their goal. Not because women are incentives, but because alignment is magnetic. If you desire more moments, you don't concentrate on women in this way. Concentrate on your own honesty, your own guidance, your personal emotional control. Women can tell when a man's the source of attention is abundance rather than more than hunger. When she gave you her first hug, she didn't beg you to move in closer. She was asking you to remain in person, precisely where you are on the inside, anchored in the moment and not hurried, because what formed her was that inner position. Move in your direction initially, that and the signal diminishes. Hold it, and there is potential for the relationship to grow on its own terms. When a woman gives you a hug initially, an irreversible already changed within her. Dedication, not assurance, but consciousness. She has sensed something register in her body, and after that occurs, she cannot deny it. Even if later on she retreats, even if life intervenes, even if the timing becomes complex, the imprint is still there. And because of this, these moments are more significant than males are aware of. What follows is where legacy is created. The majority of males believe of attraction is about going above and above, saying more, increasing more. But the men and women are the ones who understood when to those who didn't infect, did less an urgent, pure emotional moment, those who made room for the work for them. If she gave you a hug initially and you carried on with your life, with guidance, intent, and emotional congratulations, you turned into a benchmark. In her thoughts, a contrast, someone she measures people against you, not because you attempted to win her over, but because you did not attempt to capture the event. Women men who made them feel good are rarely forgotten, secure without giving them a sense of ownership, and this is the painful yet liberating truth. Even if nothing else occurs, even if the connection is unsuccessful, that hug still conveyed everything you had hoped, something. It wasn't an error, wasn't coincidental, it was a reaction to who you were at the time. Furthermore, strong men don't require assurances to respect the truth. The guys who endure suffering are those who make expectations out of moments. They hold on, not letting life unfold. They want meaning and do analysis rather than letting meaning develop. Desperation seeps into actions, and women sense that right away, not viscerally and consciously. A man who recognizes that female psychology doesn't, what does this mean? He queries, who do I have to stay? Because decoding doesn't maintain attraction signals. It is maintained by identity, by consistency, and emotional self-control gradually. If you want women to take the lead, intimacy with you more frequently, the response is not better lines, but better strategies or more theatrical assurance. It's turning into the type of individual whose the room is slowed down by their presence. It feels intentional and whose life feels satisfied even when no one is around. Her body reacted to that. This is a potent object to sit with. When a woman makes the first move, she's not. She is merely reacting to you, to her self-perception in you're more at ease, more feminine, and less guarded. You allowed her to breathe out. It's uncommon in a world where the majority of exchanges feel like discussions. Men who comprehend this cease pursuing results and begin developing presence. They allow closeness to develop naturally. When the attraction ripens, it's more profound, serene, and long-lasting. This is the question I would like you to answer truthfully, not for me, but for yourself. And then enter your response in the remarks after she gave you the first hug. Did you maintain your sense of self? Did you begin attempting to become what you believed she desired? If this video was helpful, you perceive that time in a different way, like watch the video and subscribe for more information, that the majority of males never receive instruction, and give this to a buddy who needs to before he ruins the next moment. Listen to it. Thing is truly important, is truly